Every child has a bedtime routine, but have they ever wondered how animals prepare for sleep? Imagine a world where the stars watch over a garden filled with sleepy creatures. Turtles tucking into shells, birds nestling in cozy homes, and a glowing little firefly finding its way to Dreamland. This soothing adventure is ready to spark your child's curiosity and create the perfect calm for bedtime. Stay tuned to discover how this journey can help your child wind down tonight. In the heart of a quiet garden, where the stars sparkle brightly against the soft purples of the twilight sky, there lived a tiny firefly named Flicker. From the tip of its tiny body glowed a gentle light, warm and steady, like a nightlight comforting the sleeping world around it. But tonight, Flicker wasn't ready to sleep. Instead, they floated through the cool air, wondering about something that just wouldn't let their minds settle. Do turtles, birds, frogs, do all the animals in the garden have their own special way of getting ready for bed? Flicker's glow grew brighter with curiosity. Maybe, just maybe, they could find an answer by asking them. The garden at twilight was a magical place. The sky stretched out like velvet, deep and rich in color, scattered with stars twinkling faintly as the night grew fuller. Shadows danced as the moonlight peeked through the trees, and the gentle rhythm of crickets humming their tune filled the air like a soft lullaby. Nearby, flowers that had spread their petals wide during the day slowly folded them in, like little blankets to protect themselves while they rested. The breeze carried the coolness of evening, making the gentle rustling of leaves sound like whispers between old friends. The world seemed calm, ready to drift off to sleep, but not Flicker. Floating over the mossy path, Flicker watched the sleepy garden prepare for its quiet hours. But every time they looked at a yawning flower or felt the sleepy breeze nudge them along, a little question tugged at their mind. How? How does everyone know it's time to rest? Flicker wobbled slightly in the air as if shaking their tiny head. How do they do it? They thought. Their glow flickered slightly, more curious than ever, and they decided to find out. If there was a secret to falling asleep, surely the garden's creatures, wrapped in the wisdom of many evenings, could share it. Drifting lower, Flicker glided past a row of tall daisies, bending under the weight of their closing petals. Each step, or rather each small flutter of Flicker's wings, felt soft and slow. Flicker noticed how even the flowers seemed to have a rhythm, tucking themselves away one by one, almost as if they were following their very own bedtime routine. It made Flicker wonder about something they had heard little human children talk about. Opening their glow just a bit wider, they tried to piece it together. A routine could be something that brought your heart a bit of peace, a pattern, something you did every night to remind yourself it was time to rest. The thought nudged a small memory inside Flicker. Once, when the humans had brought their lanterns to the garden for storytelling, their warm voices had drifted through the nighttime air. "Routines help us feel safe," one had said to a child who looked sleepy but comforted. "They tell us when it's time for our busy minds to take a break and for our bodies to begin to wind down." At the time, this hadn't made much sense to Flicker, whose glow followed the natural rhythm of days and nights. But now, thinking of the flowers lowering themselves and imagining the creatures hidden in their little pockets of the garden, it began to feel like an idea worth exploring. The breeze gave Flicker a soft nudge again, urging them forward gently, as if it too was part of the journey. Flicker hardly minded, fluttering closer to the soft sounds of crickets and tree leaves moving against one another like a cozy blanket being shaken out. It wasn't long before Flicker spotted the wide, slow form of a turtle settling in at the base of an old elm tree. Round and sturdy, the turtle's shell seemed almost to shimmer under the faint glow of the stars. Flicker's light brightened with interest. The turtle was moving slowly, tucking one foot and then another into the smooth curve of its shell. Each movement was deliberate, and there was something about its pace, steady, unhurried, that made it look utterly peaceful. The turtle's head disappeared into the shell last, just before a long, slow exhale slipped out and joined the quiet breeze of the night. Flicker floated closer, softly, so as not to disturb the calm moment. But just before Flicker could speak, the turtle's voice, low and even like a distant drum, filled the space between them. "It's restful, isn't it?" the turtle said. "The way the night gathers us home." Flicker blinked a few times, their glow softly pulsing as if it too was finding the turtle's presence relaxing. "It is," Flicker agreed. "But I can't help wondering, how did you know it was time to go home? How do you always look so ready to rest?" The turtle seemed to smile, though it was hard for Flicker to tell. It spoke with the same calm rhythm, steady and certain. "For me, going home means creating a space where I can feel safe. And when I feel safe, I know it's time to stop, to breathe, and to let everything else go. I tuck myself in the same way each night, slowly and surely. It's my little way of telling my body the day has ended, and there's nothing left to do but rest." The words hung between them for a moment, and Flicker thought of how comforting that must feel. There weren't many soft places for a firefly to rest. They hummed and floated and blinked their tiny lights, often until they couldn't anymore. A place that felt secure, a place that belonged only to you, sounded like an incredible treasure. "Does it help to do it the same way every night?" Flicker asked. "It does," the turtle replied. "A familiar rhythm makes it easier for everything inside me to relax. You wouldn't think it, but just the simple act of following the same steps sets the stage for rest. It becomes something I look forward to, a little signal that my day has come to an end." Hearing this made Flicker's glow change, humming a little brighter. Maybe there really was something to this idea of routines. The thought sparked a fresh wave of curiosity. Surely, if there was more to learn about sleep, the turtle wouldn't be the only one to offer an answer. "Thank you," Flicker said at last. "I think I'd like to see what else the garden has to say about rest." The turtle hummed its agreement and gave a slow nod before settling back into its shell. As the turtle grew still, Flicker's gaze traveled further through the garden, following the faint sound of rustling high above. The twinkling stars above seemed to smile, perfectly silent, as Flicker's wings carried them closer to the trees, where another secret to bedtime was waiting. Flicker hovered silently above the wide turtle shell, its glow pulsing faintly in the soft light of the stars. Beneath the shell, the turtle moved calmly, pulling its sturdy legs and round head into the smooth curve of its home. Each motion was unhurried, as if the turtle had done this 1,000 times before, knowing there was no need to rush. As the last hint of its head disappeared, the world seemed to grow quieter, like the garden itself was taking a deep breath along with the turtle. Flicker couldn't help but wonder, how could one small space feel this calm and inviting? The little firefly drifted lower, softly lighting the edges of the shell, trying not to disturb the turtle's peaceful feeling. Inside, the turtle gave a long, slow exhale. It was as if tucking into its shell had reminded it to leave the busyness of the day behind. Flicker floated closer, glowing gently. "Excuse me," Flicker murmured. "I've always seen you tuck yourself into your shell at night, but I was wondering, how does your shell help you feel ready to sleep?" The turtle's voice, warm and steady, rumbled out like the low hum of the earth itself. "This shell isn't just where I live," the turtle explained. "It's my sanctuary. It's cozy and safe, and it helps me feel that the day is done. When I pull inside, it's like saying, 'This is my spot to rest.'" Flicker tilted slightly in the air, its curiosity growing brighter. The shell didn't look particularly soft, and yet the way the turtle described it made it sound like the most comfortable place in the garden. "But how do you know when it's the right time to settle in?" Flicker asked. "You always seem so sure." The turtle's soft sigh carried into the quiet night. "I do it the same way every evening," it said. "I tuck in slowly, first one leg, then the other. It's like telling my body, 'We're getting ready now.' Then I breathe in the stillness around me, the cool air, the quiet garden. It all reminds me I'm safe here. That's how I know it's time to let everything go and rest." As Flicker listened, they saw how deliberate the turtle's movements were. Each step of pulling into its shell seemed to have a purpose, helping the turtle unwind and feel secure. Flicker thought back to the flowers they had seen earlier, folding their petals one by one like tiny blankets wrapping them in. Like the turtle, it seemed the flowers also followed a rhythm, a routine that let them leave the busyness of the day behind. "You said the air reminds you it's safe," Flicker said after a moment. "Is it the quiet that helps you feel that way?" The turtle gave a small, gentle hum, almost like a chuckle. "The quiet helps, but it's the shell itself, this special space just for me. Inside, I feel protected. I know nothing can bother me here. That feeling of safety makes it easy for my body to relax." Hearing this, Flicker started to notice the connection between the turtle's shell and the idea of a bedtime routine they had heard humans talk about before. A shell was like a child's bed or their favorite blanket, a space to rest that felt warm and familiar. Flicker's light flickered softly as they thought about how comforting it must feel for the turtle to have a place like this to call its own. "And does it help to do the same thing every night?" Flicker asked, thinking about how often parents told children that routines were important before bed. "Yes," the turtle said with a slow nod. "It's like a little signal to myself. The world quiets down. I tuck into my shell and my body knows it's time. Doing it the same way each night makes it easier to wind down, even after a busy day." Flicker began to glow brighter, understanding this more and more. They realized it wasn't just the shell that made bedtime peaceful for the turtle. It was what the shell represented. It was the predictability, the comfort, and the feeling of protection that made sleep feel easy to welcome. "And you're never restless? Never unsure about falling asleep?" Flicker asked, tilting their small, glowing body to the side. The turtle smiled faintly, though Flicker could only see a hint of it. "Sometimes," the turtle admitted. "But when that happens, I listen to the quiet sounds of the garden, the soft rustle of leaves, the rhythm of the crickets. It reminds me that the world is resting too, and that I can join it." Flicker imagined what it must feel like to retreat into a shell and let the sounds of the world fade into the background. They thought of the small children in nearby homes, tucking in with a favorite bedtime story, or cuddling under their blankets while a cool breeze passed. It seemed that the turtle's shell was a perfect example of what it meant to create a cozy place for sleep. "You've given me so much to think about," Flicker said softly. "Maybe having a special place is the first step in learning how to rest." The turtle gave a slow, deliberate nod. "It helps," they said, their voice fading into the peaceful night. "But there's still plenty to discover. Every creature has its own way of settling in. Why don't you ask the others? You might be surprised by what you learn." Flicker's light pulsed gently in reply, a quiet thank you in the stillness of the garden. Slowly they floated upward, their wings carrying them higher toward the rustling sounds of the trees. The turtle settled back fully into its shell, and its steady breathing became a part of the night's quiet rhythm once more. Flicker moved on, wondering what other secrets the garden might share about how to rest. Flicker floated up toward the trees, their tiny glow guiding them through the branches that stretched into the twilight sky. Above, tucked carefully in a small, woven nest, was a little bird softly fluffing its feathers. It was perched so snugly, surrounded by the gentle curve of its cozy home, that Flicker paused to watch. The bird let out a quiet chirp as it nestled deeper into the nest. With a slow movement, it tucked its tiny head beneath one wing, its warm feathers curling around it like a hug. Flicker drifted closer, keeping their glow soft and calming. "That must be the coziest spot in the whole garden," they said, their voice just loud enough to be heard over the rustling leaves. The bird raised its head at Flicker's greeting, its dark eyes glinting kindly in the dim light. "It is," the bird replied gently. "This nest is my safe place. It keeps me warm, and it's where I feel connected to the ones I love. That's why no matter how far I fly during the day, I always come back here when it's time to rest." Flicker's wings fluttered softly as they hovered closer. The nest, made of soft twigs, small leaves, and bits of downy feathers, looked as if it had been carefully shaped with comfort in mind. Its snug design cradled the bird perfectly, providing both protection and peace from the world outside. "Why do you snuggle in so tightly before bed?" Flicker asked, tilting their glowing body curiously. The bird let out another soft chirp before answering, its feathers ruffling slightly as it spoke. The nest feels like home to me. It's not just a place to sleep, it's a reminder of safety and love. When I'm here, I know I'm cared for. That warmth makes it easier to let go of the day and settle in for the night. Flicker listened closely, thinking about what the bird had said. It wasn't just the nest's soft twigs or safe location high in the tree that made it special. It was the way it made the bird feel. A feeling of warmth and connection surrounded it, like an invisible blanket of safety. Humans say that feeling cared for helps them at bedtime too, Flicker said, their glow pulsing softly. I heard a parent tell their little one that reading together at night makes them feel loved. I wonder if that's their version of a nest. The bird tilted its head thoughtfully. That sounds lovely, it said. I suppose a story can be a nest of words, wrapping someone up in love. It's the same kind of closeness I feel when I snuggle here, remembering all the time I've spent building this home. The connection makes it easier to rest. It's not just a routine, it's a way of feeling secure. Flicker's light brightened for a moment as they considered this. They imagined children curled up beside their parents, a bedtime story flowing gently between them like a warm stream. Reading, much like the bird's nest, seemed to be more than just a part of the nightly routine. It was also about being together, about creating memories, and fostering a bond that brought peace. But do you always feel calm when you settle in? Flicker asked after a pause. What if your day has been busy or noisy? The bird let out a tiny trill, almost like a chuckle. Sometimes the day can follow me back to my nest, it admitted. When that happens, I close my eyes and focus on what feels warm and safe. My feathers against the nest, the quiet of the tree swaying, it all reminds me I'm exactly where I should be. It's comforting, just like singing to my little ones used to be. Flicker imagined what it must have been like to sing to baby birds, each one tucked safely under their parents' wing. That warmth and love, Flicker thought, might be what bedtime routines were all about. They weren't just tasks to finish before falling asleep. They were special moments, filled with connection. I think I understand now, Flicker said, their voice soft. A nest isn't just a place, it's a reminder of love, like a bedtime story read by someone who cares. The bird nodded, tucking its head back under its wing. Exactly, it murmured. It's not just where I sleep, it's how I know tomorrow will come, and I'll be okay. That's where I find rest, and I hope you find your own kind of nest too. Flicker's glow pulsed warmly with gratitude. The quiet wisdom shared by the bird added another piece to the little firefly's growing understanding of sleep. A nest, Flicker realized, was just another way of showing love. A soft, safe space to wind down, whether it was made of twigs or the sound of a loved one's voice. Thank you, Flicker said, drifting upward as the bird closed its eyes and settled deeper into the nest. I think I'll keep exploring or flying until I find my version of a nest. The bird chirped lightly in response, already half asleep as the breeze rocked the branches gently. Flicker floated higher, the glow of their body blending slightly with the stars in the clear sky above. They wondered what other lessons the garden might hold about getting ready for sleep. As they drifted, the sound of a soft splash reached their ears from somewhere near the pond below. Flicker turned toward the sound, their wings humming quietly. The birds' words stayed with them as they floated away, the warmth of their lesson lingering like the faint glow of firefly light in the hushed night. As Flicker drifted down toward the pond, the sounds of the garden began to fade. The gentle hum of crickets softened, replaced by the occasional drip of water and the rhythmic ripple of tiny waves lapping at the edges of the pond. The surface of the water shimmered under the moonlight, reflecting its soft, silver glow like a giant mirror. Everything about the pond felt still, as though the world had paused just for a moment. At the center, perched on a smooth green lily pad, sat a frog. Its body rested low, legs curled beneath it, and its large, calm eyes seemed to soak in the quiet with complete ease. Flicker hovered nearby, watching the frog closely. The frog didn't move, not even a twitch. It simply sat there, as still as the moonlit water, its wide chest rising and falling slowly with soft breaths. Flicker tilted in the air, their glow steady but curious. How could the frog be so incredibly calm? Flicker couldn't help but wonder what the frog was feeling in that moment. They floated gently closer, careful not to disturb the quiet harmony of the pond. "Excuse me," Flicker said softly, their glow pulsing faintly in greeting. "I couldn't help but notice how still and peaceful you are. You're not asleep yet, are you?" The frog blinked slowly, its steady gaze flickering toward Flicker. Its voice, low and even, carried across the quiet pond like a ripple on the calm water. "Not yet," the frog replied. "Before I sleep, I like to sit here and breathe. The stillness of this moment helps me let go of the day." Flicker's wings slowed as they listened, almost as though the frog's stillness was contagious. "You just sit?" Flicker asked. "Doesn't it make you restless?" The frog gave the faintest shake of its head. "Not at all. Sitting still helps ease my mind and body. I close my eyes, breathe deeply, and listen to the quiet around me. Each breath makes me feel calmer, like I'm letting go of the busyness of the day with every exhale." Flicker's glow softened as they floated lower, resting gently above the water. They noticed for the first time how the stillness of the pond matched the frog's steady rhythm. The faint splashes of fish, the gentle rustle of leaves above. It was all part of the quiet song of the night. Everything seemed slower, calmer. It wasn't hard to imagine how the frog could feel so relaxed here. "Why do you breathe deeply?" Flicker asked after a moment. "Does it help you feel sleepy?" The frog's reply came softly, the weight of its words grounding the conversation. "Deep breaths calm the body. When you breathe in slowly and fully, it feels like you're gathering all the stress and thoughts from the day. Then, as you let the air out, it's like you're letting everything go. It's a way of telling my mind and body that it's time to rest." Flicker blinked thoughtfully, sensing something important in the frog's words. They thought about how this might work for the human children they had heard nearby, sometimes restless and giggling in their homes before bed. Could breathing help them relax too? Flicker decided to try it for themselves, hovering still for a moment, opening and closing their wings softly as they focused. A deep breath in, slow and steady, and then out again, letting the air flow gently into the night. There it was, a small feeling of ease, a tiny wave of calm. "That does feel nice," Flicker said, their voice quiet with surprise. "Do you always do this before you sleep?" The frog nodded, lowering its gaze to the water below. "I do. A moment of stillness like this gives me time to settle down. It reminds me there's nothing else I need to do, nothing I need to worry about. Just breathe, just rest." Flicker slowly circled lower, dipping close enough to watch the frog's slow breaths. Each one created tiny ripples across the surface of the pond, as if even the water shared in the moment's calm. Flicker thought about how simple the frog's routine was, yet how powerful it seemed. Breathing deeply and listening to the quiet around them required nothing but time to sit, time to pause, time to unwind. "I heard once," Flicker began, their glow pulsing gently with memory, "that humans have something called mindfulness. It's when they focus on the present moment, just like you focus on your breathing. They say it helps them feel calm, especially before bed." The frog blinked slowly, considering this. "That sounds like what I do," it replied. "Mindfulness must be like sitting here in the stillness, paying attention to the gentle things around you, the cool air, the soft ripples of the water, the quiet hum of the night." Flicker's glow pulsed once more. They imagined a parent seated beside their child, guiding them through slow, steady breaths before bed. It wasn't so different from the pond, where the steady rhythm of the frog's breathing seemed to blend seamlessly with the hushed sounds around it. "This moment feels special," Flicker said softly. "It's like everything is peaceful and still, even for a firefly like me." The frog smiled faintly, though its body remained perfectly still, resting on the lily pad. "Stillness is a gift we can all share," the frog said. "It's simple, but it helps let the day drift away." Flicker watched the frog breathe, their own light steady as they absorbed the quiet wisdom of the moment. It wasn't about doing anything complicated, Flicker thought. It was about being present just as they were, taking one breath at a time, listening to the world, and trusting that it was okay to let go. As Flicker prepared to leave, they took another deep breath, just as the frog had, in and out, slow and steady, like the rhythm of the pond. "Thank you," Flicker said, their voice warm with gratitude. "I think I understand the stillness now. It really does feel calming." The frog nodded once in reply, its gaze lingering on the night sky above. Flicker's wings hummed softly as they began to rise, the reflection of their light sparkling faintly on the pond below. The quiet splash of a fish broke the surface, as though bidding Flicker farewell, before the pond's stillness returned, unbroken in its peaceful rhythm. As Flicker floated higher, the faint hum of the garden reached their ears again. The Firefly listened closely, curious what other creatures might be waiting just beyond the trees. Each breath felt lighter now, as if the frog's stillness had stayed with them, guiding them toward their next step in the night. Flicker hovered gently above the garden, the soft glow of their light reflecting faintly on the petals of flowers below. The night had grown even quieter, and yet Flicker was wide awake. The turtle, the bird, the frog, each had shown Flicker something special about preparing for sleep. A cozy shell, a loving nest, and the calm of stillness. But as Flicker floated there, a question drifted into their mind like a breeze. What about me? What does bedtime look like for a firefly? It was a question Flicker had never asked before. Fireflies didn't usually think about routines. Most nights they danced through the dark until their wings grew tired, until their tiny lights dimmed on their own. But tonight, Flicker wondered if there might be a better way. The turtle talked about comfort, the bird described warmth and connection, and the frog found peace in the stillness of breathing. Each one had something unique, a way of knowing the day was done, and that rest could begin. Flicker thought back to the lessons they had learned, their own glow brightening and softening with each memory. Maybe, just maybe, they could create something special for themselves too. It was a question Flicker had never asked before. Fireflies didn't usually think about routines. Most nights they danced through the dark until their wings grew tired, until their tiny lights dimmed on their own. But tonight, Flicker wondered if there might be a better way. The turtle talked about comfort, the bird described warmth and connection, and the frog found peace in the stillness of breathing. Each one had something unique, a way of knowing the day was done, and that rest could begin. Flicker thought back to the lessons they had learned, their own glow brightening and softening with each memory. Maybe, just maybe, they could create something special for themselves too. The garden felt different now. The tall trees were silent, their leaves resting after hours of swaying in the breeze. The flowers, so full of color during the day, had folded into themselves, their petals tucked down like tiny blankets. Even the crickets seemed to hum softer, as if they too had begun to wind down. Flicker drifted through the stillness, their wings beating softly, until they stopped near a small flower tucked low to the ground. The petals were pale and smooth, glowing faintly under the moonlight. It wasn't much, but it looked peaceful. Flicker floated closer, letting their light shine gently over the flower. They decided it was the perfect place, a quiet spot to think and rest. Slowly, Flicker landed on one of the thick petals. It dipped slightly under their little weight before settling again. The petal felt cool, almost silky against their body. For a moment, Flicker stayed very still, looking out over the garden as their glow softened. This was the calmest they had ever been before falling asleep. Usually, there was no thought to it, just flying until exhaustion found them. But here, perched on the flower with its soft edges, Flicker began to wonder if the others were right. Maybe creating a routine, something thoughtful and repeated, would help. Maybe it would turn sleep into something to look forward to rather than something that simply happened. Flicker's glow brightened slightly as they remembered the turtle's words. A cozy place, the turtle had said, was like a signal to the body. It told you it was safe to stop. Flicker looked at the flower beneath them. It wasn't a shell, but it felt safe. Nestled here among the leaves and shadows, surrounded by the quiet hum of the night. Flicker thought it might be a good start. Next, they thought of the bird, curling into her warm nest. Hers wasn't just a place to sleep. It was a reminder that she was cared for, that she was never alone. Flicker shifted slightly on the petal as they considered this. Fireflies didn't have nests, but they did have the sky, always filled with stars and other fireflies blinking like distant friends. Flicker tipped their head up to look at the stars above, feeling a small hint of connection to something bigger. And then there was the frog, who taught Flicker about stillness. The way the frog had sat so still, breathing deeply, had been soothing even to watch. Flicker decided to try. They closed their tiny eyes, took a slow, deep breath in, and let it out again. Then another and another. Something changed. Their body felt a little lighter, their mind a bit quieter. Flicker smiled to themselves, or at least as close to a smile as a firefly could manage. It was a small moment, but it was enough. Sitting here on the flower, glowing softly, breathing deeply, it began to feel like they had created their own little routine. And it worked. The questions they had carried with them all night, the curiosity, the restlessness, faded into the stillness of the garden. What made this moment even more special to Flicker was the thought of what came next. Dreams. The turtle had their shell, the bird had her nest, and the frog had the pond. For Flicker, the idea of dreams might be their favorite part of bedtime. Dreams were where fireflies could imagine anything. A meadow filled with blinking lights, a sky so full of stars it never went dark, or even a pond where frogs and fireflies traded stories under the moonlight. Each glow from Flicker's body shimmered as the thought of such places warmed them. Bedtime wasn't just about resting, Flicker realized. It was about leaving room for something magical to unfold. Flicker's glow dimmed slightly as the garden grew darker, quieter. Everything felt just right. Everyone has their own way of getting ready for bed, Flicker thought. I guess this is mine. A flower to rest on, deep breaths, and dreams to look forward to. Nestled on the petal, Flicker let their wings relax, curling them close to their body. They felt calm. More than that, they felt happy. This newfound sense of routine, a simple mix of comfort, stillness, and imagination, felt like a gift. Just as humans brushed their teeth or listened to bedtime stories, or as the bird tucked in her feathers, Flicker now had their own way of signaling that the day was done. And it didn't take much. Just a moment of their own light, a soft breath, and the promise of a dream waiting just beyond. As Flicker's body stilled, they imagined the garden continuing its quiet song. The leaves swaying gently above, the stars twinkling faintly against a vast sky, and far away, the soft sounds of other creatures settling down for the night. Everything felt connected, from the turtle in its shell to the bird high in her nest to the frog resting on its lily pad. And now, Flicker too was part of that peaceful rhythm, their small light glowing faintly as their body grew heavier with sleep. Before they knew it, Flicker's eyes drifted shut, and their glow faded softly into the dark. Somewhere in the quiet, the promise of dreams awaited, carrying them away to magical places only fireflies could imagine. The garden, now silent, seemed to pause for a moment, soaking in the stillness before allowing itself a little exhale of peace. Quiet reigned as Flicker's journey to Dreamland finally began. Every creature, big or small, finds comfort in a routine, and Flicker's journey reminds us how universal that need truly is. Just like the turtle's shell, the bird's nest, or the frog's stillness, bedtime routines help us all feel calm and ready for rest. A simple story, a shared smile, or a gentle bedtime ritual can create the same sense of peace for children, providing warmth and security. Tonight, as you tuck your little one in, remember that these small moments matter. Let's cherish them and invite sweet dreams of glowing fireflies, quiet ponds, and magical gardens to follow. Good night.